Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the evaluation, and I have made a PowerPoint of you, and I will send to your academic system, and you can download it, and I will give you explanation briefly about principles of language assessment, and maybe you're familiar to call it about evaluation. Yeah, what is assessment? You have to know first about the definition of assessment or evaluation. Evaluation is one kind of assessment. Yeah, assessment is in general, and evaluation is one of example in assessment or one of brands in assessment. As you know, it's like that. We are as an English teacher, so we are teaching English, and we need assessment to measure the ability of our students. And to measure the ability of a student, we can use by using of a test. It's like that. Okay, so assessment is one component of teaching and activities, and by doing assessment, teachers can hopefully gain information about every aspect of their students, especially about their achievement. And an aspect that plays crucial role in assessment is called by test. A good test is conducted by considering the principles of language assessment. So when you are going to make assess to your students, you have to consider about some principles of the language assessment. What is that? So you can look at this one. So the principle of language assessment is, the first one is about the practicality, and the second one is about validity, and the third one is about reliability. The fourth one is about authenticity, and the last one is about wash back or backwash. What is that? We are going to analyze one by one. Practicality, it can be said that it is simply defined as the relationship between available resources for the test, for example, human resources, material resources, time, and so on, and resources which will be required in the design, development, and use of the test. So it is the pattern of the practicality. Available resources divided by required resources. If practicality more than one, the test development and use is practical. Yeah, if you divide between available resources, divide into required resources, and the result is more than one, so you can say that it's practical. But if the practicality less one point, you can say that test development and use is not practical. So you have to measure about the available resources, and you can divide the required resources, and how about the result. If more than one is practical, is less than one, it's not practical. It's like that. Based on the Bront in their book published in 24 and page 19 defines that practicality is in terms of how about the cost, how about the time, administration, and how about the scoring and evaluation. If we say about the cost, the test should not be too expensive to conduct. The cost for the test has to stay within the budget. Avoid conducting a test that requires excessive budget. So you have to avoid to buy some high cost or high payment or expensive payment to conduct the test. So you have to avoid that. What do you think if a teacher conducts an ulangan harian for one class consisting of 30 students in SMP level that spends 500,000 for every student? Is it practical in terms of cost? I think it's not that. It's like that. So I mean that an evaluation or a test, it can be set by a practice or practical if there is no budget in there, or if there is budget, it's just a minimum budget, I think, like that. Okay, and about the time, the test should stay within appropriate time constraints. The test will not be too long or too short. So you have to consider about the time used to test your students. It's not too short and it's not too long, based on uh, what is it, the number of the test. For example, if the number of the test is 100, so you have to make a long test, but it's not too long. But if maybe you want to test your student just maybe about a 10 or 20 item test, maybe you can take the test, or what is it, what is it, or not too long and not too short, and it's a medium time, I think. I have a question for you. What do you think if a teacher wants to conduct a test of language proficiency that it will take student 10 hours to complete? Is that practical in terms of time? So can you imagine that if we are going to make a test for our students and we need 10 hours, how about our students? I think that they will be so bored with the long time of the test. So you have to consider about the test based on the schedule, based on the ability of the students, and based on the number of the item test, I think. And then about administration. The test should not be too complicated or complex to conduct. The test should be quite simple to administer. So I have a question for you. What do you think if a teacher in a remote area who is or her students know nothing about computer conducts a test which requires the test takers to at least know how to interact with the computer in order to be able to complete the test? Is it practical in terms of administration? So you have to consider about the ability of the students, maybe in this pandemic area, that we are going to make some tests in an online test. So you have to consider about the Wi-Fi of your student, about the tools used to your students, or something else. Yeah. So I think that if the students have not don't have a Wi-Fi, good Wi-Fi maybe, or the students um, don't have what is it, available device or a good handphone to provide a good test, maybe you can conduct the test by offline, and you can ask your student to go to the class periodically to make a test, not in their home, if they don't have a handphone or a good computer at their home. And that is about the scoring and evaluation. It's based on our theme today that we are going to take about evaluation. And the scoring or the evaluation process should fit into the time allocation. So the test you have based on the schedule, based on the time that you have arranged before. A test should be accompanied with scoring rubrics, key answers, and so on to make it easy to score and evaluate. Okay, students, before going to, I'm sorry, after after making some item tests, and then the activities that you should do, or uh, that should you implement, is you have to make a rubric, scoring rubric. For example, there is the three part. The first part is about a multiple choice. The second one is about essay, for example, like that. So you have to make a rubric. How about if it's multiple choice? How about if it's essay items? And then after that, you have to make easy scoring. Yeah, easy scoring to evaluate about uh, what is it? The integrate between the integration between the score of the part A and the score of part B and the score of part C. And I have a question to you. What do you think if a teacher conducts a test that it will take students a couple minutes to complete and take the teacher several hours to score evaluate? Is it practical in terms of scoring evaluation? I I think maybe you can uh, answer the question in your academic system, yeah, based on the question that I have provided to you, and you can uh, answer by yes or no, and you have to uh, submit your questions with the opinion you have. And then about the validity of the test is the extent to which it exactly measures that it is supposed to measure. Yeah. For example, if a student is given a reading test about the metamorphosis of a butterfly, a valid test will measure the reading ability, such as identifying general or specific information of the text, not his or her prior knowledge biology about the metamorphosis of a butterfly. The test should make the student rely on his or her reading ability to complete the test. So, in validity, you have to consider about the materials you have. Do you will measure the ability of the reading or speaking or writing or listening? So you have to decide which one the competencies that you will teach to your students. Mr. On the Brown, in his book published in 24, page 22 to 27, proposed 5 ways to establish validity. They are content validity, criterion validity, construct validity, consequential validity, and phase validity. And you can read in my PowerPoint about the definition of each definition. Okay, I have made for you, and you can read it well. This is one. Okay. Okay. That's about the reliability. We are going to continue about reliability refers to the consistency of the scores obtained. It means that if the test is administered to the same students on different occasions with language practice for taking place between these occasions, then it produces almost the same results. And then reliability actually does not really deal with the test itself, it deals with the results of the test. The test result should be consistent. Jadi seperti ini, ketika sebuah evaluasi itu dikatakan reliable jika ketika kamu menteskan soal itu ke siswa-siswa kalian, misal kalian mengeteskan tentang compound ke siswa kalian, soalnya sama ya, ada 5 kelas. It's okay jika ada perbedaan antara kelas A, B, C, D, ya ada perbedaan nggak masalah, asal itu perbedaannya tidak terlalu mencolok, tidak terlalu signifikan. Perbedaannya sedikit itu tidak masalah, berarti itu masih bisa dikatakan bahwa evaluasi yang kalian lakukan adalah reliable gitu ya. There is example between you can compare between the scores on test A and the scores on test B. You can compare between them, is it reliable or not. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, and then reliability falls into 4 kinds. The first one is a student-related reliability, and the second one is a rater reliability, and the third one is test administration reliability, and the fourth one is about the test reliability. And you can say them a PowerPoint between each definition. I have explained detail about the definition between student-related reliability, and then rater and test administration and test reliability. You can see that in my PowerPoint, and you can ask to me if you don't understand about it, because it's not impossible if I explain you one by one about the definition. It's just a theoretical, so you can read by yourself. And then in assessment or evaluation, the most important one is about the authenticity, keautentikan, kemurnian, keaslian, ya. Authenticity deals with the real word, so you have to sekarang kalian masih apakah tahu ya, dalam assessment sekarang itu ada soal yang jenisnya adalah HOT, high order thinking skills, ya. Jadi ketika kamu membuat soal ke siswa kalian, itu jangan sampai hanya mengetes tentang teori saja atau mengetes tentang grammar saja, tapi harus dikoneksikan, direlatedkan, dihubungkan dengan real word-nya, dihubungkan dengan kehidupan mereka sehari-hari. Misal kalian mau membuat contoh soal tentang present continuous tense, dihubungkan dengan kegiatan mereka sehari-hari. Seumpama ketika kegiatan bulan puasa ini bisa kalian hubungkan dengan kegiatan puasa ini yang ada kaitannya dengan konteks mereka sehari-hari, sehingga nyambung dengan apa yang mereka lakukan dengan kehidupan mereka sehari-hari. Okay, and then authenticity is the degree of correspondence of the characteristic of a given language that talks to the features of a target language. Okay. Berarti dalam authenticity ini juga ada karakter, ya, ada karakter yang diberikan, ada tingkatan karakter yang diberikan berdasarkan pada karakter siswa kalian. Misal kalian mengajar SMP dengan kalian mengajar SD, maka tentunya nilai karakter yang akan diberikan di situ akan berbeda jenisnya. Karakter anak SD dan karakter anak SMP seperti apa? Kalau jenisnya sama, kejujuran, kemudian gotong royong, itu namanya adalah jenisnya. Tetapi tingkatnya, level kejujuran anak SD seperti apa, level kejujuran anak SMP seperti apa, SMA seperti apa. Nah, you have to combine to the test you have, seperti itu. And then based on the ground in the page of 10 to 8 also propose consideration that might be helpful to present authenticity in the test. They are: the first one, the language in the test is natural as possible. Yeah, it's natural as possible. You have to know that you have to make the test naturally. And then the second one, the items are contextualized rather than isolated. So you have to make a contextual test, not isolated test, yeah. And then the third one, the topics are meaningful or relevant or interesting to the learners based on the real situation and condition to the students, I think. And then the fourth one, some thematic organization to item is provided, such as story or episode. So you have to make an item test is thematic. Thematic means that maybe you can take about, what is it? Zero, yeah. My hero, for example, my hero. And then there are so many kinds of elements in my hero, for example, about the character, about the experience, and also about the grammar, and also about the pronunciation. It talks about thematically. And then authentic is about talks to represent, closely approximate, and real word talks, ya. Jadi natural, ya. And then it's about the wash back or back wash. The term wash back is commonly used in applied linguistics. It is rarely found in dictionaries. However, the word back wash can be found in Strand dictionaries and is defined as an event that is not the direct result of something by Cambridge Advanced Learners Dictionary. In dealing with principle of language assessment, these two words somehow can be interchangeable. Jadi wash back or back wash ini adalah seperti feedbacknya untuk siswa kalian ketika mereka memperoleh nilai jelek atau memperoleh nilai bagus. Itu kalian kasih feedback ke mereka, kalau jelek harus seperti apa, kalau bagus itu harus seperti apa, ya. Itu adalah pengaruh dari pengukuran, dari pengevaluasian, dari penilaian kalian. Nah, ini feedback ini juga berpengaruh juga untuk kelanjutan dari nilai yang akan diperoleh siswa kalian nanti selanjutnya. Jika feedback kalian berhasil to build motivation to your student, I think that the future assessment or the future evaluation that will be better than before. Seperti itu, ya. It's a positive feedback. You can read well in my PowerPoint, and what is negative feedback? You can see that. Okay. Okay, and it is about the conclusion. A test is good if it contains practicality, good validity, high reliability, authenticity, and positive feedback. And the five principles provides guidelines for both constructing and evaluating the test. And teachers should apply these five principles in contrasting or evaluating tests, which will be used in assessment activities or in evaluation activities. Okay, students, I think that's all about the explanation of evaluation or assessment, and I will divide this PowerPoint and also about the explanation to your content, and also I will send it the PowerPoint in your academic system. And don't forget to answer about the question that I provide in this PowerPoint, and please answer the question in your academic system, and please submit uh, not more than 1 week, and I will provide it in your academic system. Okay, thank you for the time, thank you for the attention, and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.